And we're back with another episode of PCC Multiverse. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from the Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, Lakers Fast Break, and Game Source. We truly appreciate you checking us out here, whether it's on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. But please make sure you give us that like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe today to get all the stuff we do, including Inside Sports Fantasy Football, Pop Culture Cosmos, the State of Pro Wrestling, and more. Plus, if you give us that 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts, it really helps us out right here. And plus, also, don't forget, we drop the latest news and info on the world of pop culture each and every day at the Pop Culture Cosmos Facebook page, and also check out what we do at popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. But also here today, of course, is a good friend indeed. She returns to us because I have returned back from vacation. She is the mistress of all that is LARP. Just trying to think of some good names. Yesterday I was driving on the road. What am I going to say? Because Melinda's going to come back. So what am I going to say? What words of wisdom can I introduce her as this time around? And that's unfortunately the best I could come up with at the moment. So
that's not the worst thing I've ever been called. So, I mean, you're ahead as far as I'm concerned.
All right. Well, I think I need to go back on the 95 and do some more thinking about it. But it is, of course, the Barkhouse Ross and Melinda. Great to have you here. The Legend of Vampires Vitae, Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and more. Great to have you back. In great spirits.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully I am too. Talk about the world of pop culture, my friend.
Yeah, I'm excited. There's a whole lot.
You may be excited until we get to a certain show that ended the other day.
No, well, yeah, that was unfortunate.
Yeah, so we'll talk about Star Trek, the good and the bad, the interesting, and what the heck is going on with Star Trek Discovery, but also Star Trek Starfleet Academy. Some interesting news there as well. So we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. Plus also as well, we did say on the Monday show that I would give you any kind of updates on anything that was announced at not E3, could be E3, should be E3, isn't E3, but really, when it comes right down to it, it needs to be back to E3. With the Ubisoft Forward that happened after our Monday show, so we'll go ahead and touch on a couple things there. And then, of course, I want to hear Melinda's thoughts on what went on, the announcements took place, and is she going to finally get an Xbox after what was announced this past weekend? Plus, also, of course, Inside Out 2, could it be the biggest film of the year? And, of course, also as well, Bridgerton Part 2, or what's Season 3, Part 2.
Yep.
Everything's now in parts. The Strangers Part 1 and 2. What's Horizon, the Kevin Costner film? That's a Part 1 and 2. Bridgerton and Netflix now, their biggest series are now broken up into a Part 1 and Part 2. All these things now are doing Part 1s and Part 2s. Well, Bridgerton is now up to a Part 2. Melinda's going to give us the inside scoop on what's going on with all the saucy.
Saucy is a good word to use.
Sexy details of Bridgerton Season 3, Part 2 coming up here in a bit. Plus The Boys, Season 4. Can they retain the magic? We'll go ahead and ponder that on the show as well. But first, my friend, let's start with Star Trek. Let's just get the Star Trek out of the way because we know you are a Star Trek aficionado for us here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. I still have to do that thing I told you I would do, and I have not done it yet, so shame on me. So I will try to remind myself to do it soon in regards to the world of Star Trek, but maybe it's because I was still in kind of a blah blah in regards to when I came home from vacation and I popped on Star Trek Discovery Season 5, the final episode where they were supposed to find the meaning of life, and unfortunately found a whole lot of what in the heck was going on. A lot of green screening, a lot of a whole lot of nothing, just a lot of conversation. Uh, I understand, and my daughter told me, my oldest daughter, she said that it was taped and filmed about 2022, I think is when they said, and they tacked on an extra 10 to 15 minutes at the end. This series seemingly didn't want to end because the way it just dragged on and on and on. And I understand that they all are going to miss each other and all that's good stuff. And everybody has to get emotional one last time. But
Mm.
the way they ended it, it just Star Trek Picard season 3. They ended that show better than what we saw with Star Trek Discovery. But then again, Star Trek Discovery, in many ways, we have to thank for kicking back up the live action Star Trek
Yep.
series. But we also have to say, you know what? It's not been the best representation of Star Trek, especially after this last episode.
Yeah, there were what I think 4 different storylines in that last episode, and none of them. I mean, were any of them resolved? It felt
Not
so.
really.
It was so confusing.
And then we're just going to put the Discovery out somewhere in deep space for some unknown reason. And
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
because. And
Mhm.
have somebody else find it on a different show and episode sometime later on.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so strange. And like the flash forward into the future at the very end, that that little bit of story, I don't know how necessary that was. Maybe if they had have run something more present day and interjected bits of the future where she's like recounting some of those stories, maybe would have been a better conclusion. I don't quite understand. There was the big fight scene, which even for Star Trek was a terrible fight scene. I was like, come on now, let's. I can come up with it. I can choreograph a better fight scene than this at this point. It was just bad.
Yeah, and that's tough for you
Yeah,
sometimes to talk about Star Trek in that fashion.
yeah,
Uh, because what is the old saying that you say in the blip that I got on as a commercial? Any bad Star Trek is still good Star Trek because it's Star Trek. So
yeah.
I don't know, but this tested your Star Trekkiness right there.
Yeah, no, it definitely did. And I mean, please don't get me wrong. I don't mind calling out the show when I think that it's not doing, good things or smart things, or even if the show I think is like hurting the Star Trek brand, which I feel like Star Trek Discovery did. Like it was tough, and for it to end on that kind of disjointed, none of it felt connected. It just seemed so odd, and what a strange way, as you said, just like ditching the starship. I Yeah, I don't
There's a
know.
maybe that's why Skydance couldn't come to an agreement on buying Paramount, and they saw
Yeah.
the last episode and said, "I don't think we want this anymore." But
You know what? If I wouldn't rule it out, that's for sure, because that it was just bad writing. It's not even that it was bad Star Trek. It was just bad writing, I feel like, from the
yeah,
jump. And there was just too many ideas that they crammed into too short of time. If that had been like a part 3 finale, like, or a 3-part finale, I think you probably could have explored all of those things in a way that felt like a conclusion and felt like a satisfactory ending. But when you have these 3 different ideas and you're trying to cram them in, it didn't work. It was messy, it was sloppy. I didn't feel like anything was resolved as a viewer. I had more questions than anything. And I mean, I hope that Star Trek Discovery they're not setting it up for like a movie. Why would you pick Discovery if that's what you were going to do? Like, that's just not correct.
I don't think they're doing it simply because of the fact that they did those tacked on scenes at the
Yeah.
end that they might,
Yeah.
I guess, filmed at a later time, like you said, years in advance.
Yeah.
I think because they did that, they're ditching the whole series as a whole, and I don't think they'll come back to it. But yeah, very strange choices indeed was the end of Star Trek Discovery. But in the end, I do want to thank Star Trek Discovery for bringing back live action Star Trek, because
Yeah.
they finally got it right so far with Star Trek Strange New Worlds and season 3 of Star Trek Picard. And whatever your opinions are of Discovery, it's been a bumpy ride all the way through.
Yeah.
It's the highs and lows with it, but yes, it is the end of Star Trek Discovery. One of the many shows lately that have been canceled or finished that really, in some cases deserve to, and some cases like Tokyo Vice, unfortunately, HBO on you for canceling it. But speaking of Star Trek, before we hit the break, my friend, I wanted to go ahead and ask your thoughts on the newest series on the way, because they're finishing off with Discovery. They're finishing off with Lower Decks. I thought that was a surprise that they're finishing off that series too. I thought that series
Yeah.
has plenty more but life in it. But oh well, I guess not. Star Trek Starfleet Academy. I just don't understand their reasoning sometimes with these outlets when we're canceling this after season 2 or season 3 or season 4, and it's like, wow, it's a pretty big mover for you. But okay, I want to ask your thoughts on Star Trek Starfleet Academy that's going to be in development here very soon. You already know the Michelle Yeoh movie, Star Trek movie, that's already in production. That's already being worked on. But this one has a really interesting couple of stars that have already been attached to it. Holly Hunter as the lead and Paul Giamatti as the lead villain. Your
I'm
thoughts on
so
that?
excited to see him as a villain in the Star Trek universe.
I bet you he's a Trekkie. I bet you that's the
Oh
reason
man,
why he's doing this.
I hope so, because I think if you're gonna play a villain in Star Trek, you have to have a love for Star Trek for it to really come through. I think that there's a level of Star Trek that you have to understand in order to play an effective villain in
Who
that
do you think
universe.
he's playing? You think he's playing
Yeah.
a human or maybe something, an alien? Like,
Oh
wouldn't
gosh,
he make a good Ferengi?
he would make a great Ferengi, I think. I also think that he could do a diabolical Vulcan. I think that would be interesting to see him play that. But I want him to play a character that allows him to go just over the top huge as a villain. I would love that for Giamatti. I think he would embrace that challenge. And I think that he would be a terrifying villain if he was just let, kind of off the chain, go do what you think is appropriate. I think it would be wild.
Because he still stars in movies,
Yep.
Academy Award nominations, Golden
Mhm.
Globe victories. If he wins the Emmy, will he go back to In and Out right after, like he did, I believe, after the Golden Globes?
I don't know. I mean, why not?
There you go.
I
Absolutely.
guess. Yeah.
That was so cool because he actually, after he won, he shows him getting in line and had the trophy right there. And there you go.
Yeah. I
Absolutely.
mean,
Still
when
in
you
the suit and everything.
when you need animal fries, you just need your fries animal style. That's
I
it.
guess I
Yeah.
guess you do. I guess you do. I wish I had a love for In and Out like that. It's okay,
Yeah.
but to
I
me, it's
prefer
just
Fat
okay.
Burger or Five Guys for me.
Yeah,
I
I'm
prefer
kind of a
that.
Carl's Jr. guy. I don't know
Oh,
why,
okay.
but yeah,
Okay.
no one else seems to be. I don't know how that place. It always is right next. It feels so sad because you go to a Carl's Jr. and you look right across, and there's like Chick-fil-A or In and Out or Five Guys or
Yeah.
Raising Cane's that have like a line a mile long, and you go to little old Carl's Jr. that was there before all of them,
Yeah.
and there's no one there. So,
Yeah. It's funny.
yeah.
It's funny. And I'm still
But
just catching up
it's
on.
true. That's
Yeah,
the thing.
no, it's absolutely true. But I still am catching up on all of my American fast food outlets. So, I'm still bit by bit sampling each one. But so
I
far, it's been Fat Burger with the fried egg on it. Ugh,
Yeah, the Fat
kidding
Burger's
me?
pretty
Out of
good. I
this
had that the
world.
other day.
So
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
I give you that.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good choice
Yeah.
right there. But what are your choices out there for best drive-through burger? Actually, Josh and I have had this conversation before, but let us know your thoughts on that. Plus, also as well, what's going on in the world of Star Trek? Did you like the end of Discovery? And what are your thoughts on Star Trek Starfleet Academy's Holly Hunter and Paul Giamatti hiring? as I said to Melinda, very interesting. Please let us know your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, I guess for now, there are no more video game announcements, but for a while there, it was pretty heavy.
It was.
As far as what was going on. I will be in the coming weeks sharing thoughts with my good friend TJ Johnson. He dropped by and taped a segment, so I'll be dropping that sometime in the near future on his thoughts on not E3, could be E3, should be E3. But I also, as wanted to get you as our PlayStation fangirl, wanted to go ahead and hear your thoughts on PlayStation State of Play and, of course, the Xbox showcase. I don't have to. If you want to share your thoughts on Summer Game Fest and the 90 games that were put there, you can go ahead by all means, but I don't know if you really want to, because there wasn't really that much announced as far as bangers are concerned, as the kids say these days. A lot of indie games. Although I found out that to be on Jeff Keighley's showcase, you had to pay quite a bit. I have a friend, my co-host on the Lakers Fast Break, who's helping to finance a game, and yeah, they wanted $350,000 just to pop a trailer on Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest, and I was like, "What? You can't be serious! You can't be serious!" Then I read reports and news from other outlets saying they were asking $250, and up for a spot on that Summer Game Fest, and I was just like, wow, Jeff
the
Keighley.
Audacity, really.
I was really, back in the days of Game Source, I was really hard on Jeff Keighley around 2010, 11, 12, and all that. And I kind of laid off in recent years. Man, I may have to go back to, bagging on Jeff Keighley again. But be that as it may, my friend, your thoughts on the State of Play, kind of understated. Even as a PlayStation fan, I think you should admit that, because they don't really have much in the way of options. You talked about V Rising. This is the best chance for you to talk about V Rising, because outside of Astrobot and Concord, there's not really a whole lot coming to PlayStation this year.
And everything that I'm hearing about Vampire Rising is, I mean, it's a vampire based MMO from what I understand. I'm picking it up today. So I'm kind of excited to jump into that. I might not.
Are you going to try to bite everyone on the neck?
No, I don't think so. I'm really excited because you get to design your own castle, and you get to do the the decor on the inside, and then you go and you fight other stuff. Anyway, I'm probably gonna get pretty hooked on that game. I just
imagine myself if I went to go and play. Hey, hi, I'm Count Gerald, and all of a sudden here comes Melinda right on my neck.
Right. But so it has been out for a while on PC, early release or testing or something along those lines. So just as a matter of coincidence, a bunch of people who I've met through playing Vampire LARP, I'll play Vampire Rising, and they have their own server, like dedicated server for this group of players. So they're all PC players. So I've got to pick it up on PC and see how that goes, so I can, be part of the cool kids club and check out the game. So I'm probably going to stay on computer for a while, but I mean, it's on PS5, and all of the trailers and stuff that I've seen, they're pushing it pretty hard right now, even on your welcome screen. The trailer and stuff is right on that screen. And I just find that it looks great. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. It looks like one of those games where you're not really going to run out of things to do. So I'm looking forward to that.
With that, my friend, what were your thoughts coming out of the State of Play? Were you kind of disappointed as a PlayStation owner and fan and big supporter on the show for it? Because again, Astrobot and Concord were the only two real entities that were big, that were not just, and Concord's kind of third party. That's not actually a first party. They're trying to do it in the same vein as Helldivers 2 and trying to recreate that magic, which again, that has been the biggest PlayStation related thing this year. That's it. And as a PlayStation owner, you had to be kind of disappointed with what they offered.
Yeah, there wasn't really a whole lot that got me very excited. But I feel like that's been happening a lot, specifically around the PS5, and I'm not sure why that is. Like, is the hardware that far ahead of the software that they're developing? Like, is it I don't understand exactly what the problem
Because we're
could be
4
there.
years removed from the coronavirus. So,
Right.
I understand that there was a delay, and I give
Sure.
them 21,
Yeah.
22, even 23. We're now in 2024,
Yeah.
and as we saw with Xbox, and I know you don't want me to go ahead and rub it in on Xbox, but I have to.
No, please do.
They showed you a lot of stuff that's coming out this year and next because it
Right.
looks like I don't want to say they're all caught up, but they're catching up. It's like the film industry with the strike. It's a
Yeah.
matter of catching up, and the film industry hasn't gotten quite there yet, but they're getting closer to it. Xbox seems like they're getting close to it. PlayStation just seems like it's in a state of flux now. They threw out some good titles, first party titles. They sprinkled enough to get your interest and to have people buy it to the point where it is the number one selling console with a Spider-Man, with Horizon,
Yeah.
with but it's just like now they should be really kicking a full gear like Xbox is, and they're not.
Yeah. And really that was my hesitation in even picking up a PS5 was just that it just feels not super supported somehow.
Yeah,
And that's a shame because now at this point I've invested in this new console and I watch Netflix and Paramount Plus on it more than I play games on it.
yeah,
Um, and that's as much to do with the kinds of games that I've seen come out for it so far. They just haven't really been of interest to me. And I mean, I don't think that I'm a niche video game player. I think I'm your pretty average player. So it's for me not to find a title that I'm very excited about is crazy. I mean, Diablo 4 and Baldur's Gate, those are the two that I was really, really excited about on the PS5. Elden Ring to a lesser extent, because I find actually that game is incredibly challenging to play. And, that's just should show you right there my level of video game prowess, really. But I just find that it does feel like the PS5 still isn't super supported. It almost feels like they're still doing like that dance of, oh, is this great or not? How do we? I don't. It feels like a commitment issue. Like just get married or don't at this point.
yeah. It's
Is
just
how it feels.
it's disappointing because again, you're number one.
Yeah.
You should be fully supported. You should
Hmm.
have a whole bunch of development houses that are ready to put out product by now. Moving off of what happened with the coronavirus
Yeah.
4 years ago now, and it just doesn't seem like it. And I've admitted to Josh and I admitted to myself that after years and years of being the video game Switzerland, where you were
Hmm.
not trying to make anyone angry in any platform and just try to stay even. I had to admit myself that Xbox was where I've gone to in this generation, and I was really paying for it for a while because Xbox for the past few years has really done a number on its own self through its
Yeah.
own actions and through also the fact, like you said, what you just said is the first 3 years of Xbox on
Right.
this generation. What you said exactly. But now, when you check out the Xbox showcase this past weekend,
Hmm.
that's what I want to ask you on this one because I know again you'll die before Xbox, but my gosh, when you see the list of games that are coming out over the next 18 to 24 months, supposedly from what you saw with 24, 24, 24, and then 2025, 2025, all these games, first party games, there was
Hmm.
some third party in there, absolutely, but there was a lot of first party games, virtually all of them coming to Games Pass.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, honestly, Xbox had me kind of hesitating a little bit, even just with Hellblade 2, because I loved the first one so much. And I know that a lot of people have said that the Hellblade 2 isn't really, well, all that
It's a
great.
well, I said it's the
Yeah.
best looking and best sounding game you
Yeah.
have ever experienced,
Yeah.
and then you have to play the game.
Right. Yeah. And I understand that, but just like you said, that's the audio tricks alone. My God, that's an interesting game. I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to fangirl about it too hard. because it'll be 40 minutes later and I'm still talking about Hellblade 2. But no, I enjoyed the first version of that game, and when I found out that it was Xbox exclusive, I was very disappointed. But at the same time, I was like, I can't justify getting a whole console just for one game, can I?
It's a 6-hour game too. I
Yeah,
will let you know it's a shorter
yeah,
game, but it is
yeah,
so beautiful to look at,
yeah,
and to the animations. I just actually finished out an Xbox survey on that game
yeah,
that they had sent me to my email, and I was like, okay, I'll fill it out, and I answered a lot of questions on it. And overall, again, I thought everything inside of it is storytelling. Okay, could be better.
right,
The action, okay, it could be better, but my gosh, you look at it, and from a technical standpoint, there is nothing that is better. And
yeah,
for that aspect, if you want to do it for that, I wouldn't say I blame you. But now that they announced Gears of War E-Day, obviously we have Indiana Jones on the way, that
hmm,
supposedly this year, Avowed, just the list goes on as far as what they, of course, Call of Duty Black Ops 6. All of these games are going to come to Games Pass.
yeah.
Does it make more sense to you now to look into an Xbox?
Well, if
And
uh, uh,
Diablo getting DLC?
yeah, absolutely. Their Paladin is coming, which I'm pretty excited about, by the way. But no, I just think that if I had more time to dedicate to the hobby of playing specifically video games,
Mhm.
then I could justify having the second console. But I'm playing tabletop RPGs far more often than I'm playing video games. I'm at LARP, or I'm at LARP adjacent events almost constantly. So I don't have the time to sink into a video game to justify having a second console. Um, I could do it, but I'm still, I think, going to feel um, a little underwhelmed just because I don't have the time to really dedicate to a second console, let alone the one that I already have.
Okay,
Does
fair
that make
enough.
sense? I don't
That
know.
makes sense. No,
No.
and that makes perfect sense.
Hmm.
But I just feel bad now for you as a PlayStation 5 owner, because you've just recently got one
Yeah.
and you're all set, and Fee Rising is coming for you and all that. You're feeling good about it, and then you're trying to look down in the future what's coming up next, and outside of the DLC for Diablo and Doom,
Hmm.
which was one of the things that they said is coming to PlayStation 5. What
Yep.
are your thoughts on the new Doom heading back to the Dark Ages? That looked really, really damn good.
Yeah. What happens in my head, and I'm not sure where or how this happens, but I get Duke Nukem and Doom
Mhm.
confused in my head all the time. I don't know if they're one and the same or a
Yeah.
runoff of the other, but
But
in
they
my
came around because they're 90s computer games.
okay, maybe
That's why.
that's what it is. Yeah. I
Yeah.
Duke Nukem was definitely a computer game for me back in the day. It was probably one of the earlier video games that I played. There was also a D&D game that I played, Forgotten Realms, I think, for a little while. And I just
Mhm.
remember forever going through mazes and just nothing else really happening. Anyway, sidetracked. Um, no, I think it's I hope it's a blip anyway. I do hope that they just have a bunch of stuff in the works that they're just not talking about yet. And eventually PlayStation is going to catch up with itself. I feel like we're seeing that happening right now with the Xbox, but hopefully PlayStation has the same realization. And I think that they're hearing the message hopefully by now, because I know I'm not the only PlayStation fan with that kind of opinion. So we'll see.
Once again, it is Melinda Barkhouse Ross, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. We're 1/2 hour down, 1/2 hour to go here at the PCC Multiverse. Truly appreciate all the radio stations around the world playing our great show. And if you're like watching this or on YouTube, or listening to this on wherever you get your podcasts, and on Twitch, big shout out to Twitch out there as well. My friend, I wanted to go ahead and ask, the E3.E3 kind of ended with Ubisoft Connect, and Ubisoft is in a state of flux. I know Josh and I have had our opinions over the years, but I wanted to get actually your opinion on Ubisoft as an entity. And I know he went into a little bit of detail in regards to it recently, in regards to his thoughts on Ubisoft. Once a powerhouse in this industry, still a strong developer or publisher with many development studios, but very mixed results
Yeah.
depending on which game you're looking at. You see right above my head with Rainbow Six Vegas, better days for them. And then, of course, the Assassin's Creed series. The Assassin's Creed series is back with Assassin's Creed Shadows coming out later this year, and also Star Wars Outlaws. A lot of, I should say, hopes for the return of Ubisoft coming back strong and has been placed on Star Wars Outlaws. They gave an extended look at the Ubisoft Connect. Your thoughts on this? I guess it's a different kind of Star Wars game because it doesn't involve a Jedi really or any Force powers. It's more of, a Star Wars underworld type game, which often fascinates many part of the Star Wars realm. Your thoughts
Mhm.
on Star Wars Outlaws?
Yeah, I think that it's like you said, it's a different flavor. So if you've been playing a lot of those Star Wars games that have come out in the last few years, I think this is a different approach to that, and I think that that's going to help keep that game kind of fresh for people. I think it's a different take, and anytime that you can take a really beloved franchise, I think that and you find a way to keep it fresh for people who do truly love it and who do truly support it whenever something new like this comes out. I think it's only a benefit. And even if it flops, at least they've tried something different and tried something that is a little bit more outside of the box. And I think that that's great. I think it's gutsy, and I like to see it.
I'd like to see it work too. I like to see it be something that I think people could get into.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that Star Wars games are back
Hmm.
after what we've seen with Jedi Survivor, the last two
Yeah.
Jedi games from EA. I was worried about EA having that license. Obviously, starting off a little rough with the Battlefront series, which I think is a little bit underrated. I kind of liked it I kind of felt that I could play in it as an older individual
Sure.
playing a multiplayer game. I felt like I could actually contribute
Hmm.
and not just be cannon fodder. Uh,
Right.
like I
Like the one time that I tried to play League of Legends.
Yeah, or like the one time I will
Oh man.
return to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 later in the year when I have it a part of Game Pass. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I go there, get crushed in a multiplayer, and then I'll give that a try again. But I want to go ahead and say that when it comes to what they're doing with Star Wars games, I'm hoping that this will work out. But the other major thing I wanted to go ahead and discuss, because they had Skull and Bones, which I think any added on content is great, but I think that's died already, a very
Yeah.
quick death. X Defiant, which is their latest arena shooter, which has a lot of realms from all has assets from other games. Like, for
Right.
instance, you'll have a map that's in the Division, and you'll have Watch Dogs players and stuff like
Right.
that. So they're trying that out and see if that sticks. And I'm not sure that's going to stick, but we'll see right there. But the one game that they're still relying on, very reliant on, regardless of what Star Wars Outlaws does, and I shouldn't underestimate Rainbow Six. I keep on doing it. I keep making the mistake to do so. But Assassin's Creed is their number one baby, I think. I
Yeah.
think it is. Your
I think
thoughts
that's
on Assassin's Creed Shadows?
yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's pretty easy to see that Assassin's Creed is certainly what I think they always want to lead with. But I think that you're right about Rainbow Six. I mean, ooh, I have a Rainbow Six game that I am
Rainbow Six
terrible at.
Siege is been out there for
Yeah,
closing in on a decade, and
yeah,
it's been a solid game for them.
yeah, absolutely. And that's the one that I have, and that's the one that I always try to play and fail miserably at because I'm just bad at first person shooters. But there is something about that game that makes me genuinely want to be good at it. I honestly, I think it's coming down to some of my controls. I don't think I have my controller set up right with the sensitivities and all of that stuff. I haven't quite dialed that in. But I love that franchise. I think it's great. I have a blast even when I'm having my ass handed to me.
The thing is, though, uh, with them, and we'll get back into Assassin's Creed here in a second.
Mhm.
Beyond Good and Evil 2, Beyond Good and Evil 2, everybody, I talk to mentions that at some point in time when you talk about Ubisoft, but yet that's a game that if everybody mentioned that game that actually played that game,
Yeah.
it would have already been out
Yeah.
by now and not been in development hell for closing in on a decade or so. So, okay, for all you Beyond Good and Evil fans, hopefully you will get a Beyond Good and Evil 2. It's supposedly it's still in development, but we'll see. But Assassin's Creed Shadows,
Mhm.
a lot of I guess unnecessary, unneeded controversy has come along with it because they're worried about the protagonists. The certain individuals have just had issues with they just have issues with everything these days. And it's just like, just let the game be the game. If it's a good game, let's go ahead and worry about that. Let's just hopefully it will tell a good story.
Yeah.
It's already the Templars and going back and forth and in the real world. All that the story has just gone up in smoke. It's like the Fast and Furious series. I just at this point, do I really care about the main story arc? But the actual going to Japan, playing as a ninja, playing as a samurai, all that. I think this is really a game that could bring Assassin's Creed back into the forefront. Valhalla was good. Some of their other options were mixed results, but I think Shadows, if it's done well, could be really a good answer for Ubisoft once again.
Yeah, and I think that it is going to do well. I think that there are, I think that there's just a lot of fans who are a lot of fans. Sorry, there are a lot of players who are fans of, the samurai lore and the history of that. And
Mhm.
I think that there's a lot of people who are going to, even if they're not Assassin's Creed fans, they might pick it up just because they want to explore that world a little bit more. And that's definitely not going to be a bad thing as far as I can tell.
I hope not. I hope it will turn out to be what everybody hopes and wants it to be.
Yeah.
Ubisoft, this is their top IP right now, and it is Assassin's Creed. So Assassin's Creed Shadows, again, you got to see a lot more footage, and we'll look forward to seeing it later this year when it drops. So yeah, overall, I think it was a pretty good time, for the not E3, a lot of announcements. I wish Nintendo had been there, but Nintendo's going to do its own thing now and its own time. But I think it just, with this time of year, everybody's been talking about it, about how they should just, at some point, I understand E3 is dead officially,
Yeah.
according to the LA City Council, but I have a feeling at some point in time, somebody's going to try and bring back E3 because these times, this summer game fest, all these announcements, right? Daisy chaining off each other. I think it just speaks to the video game industry wanting once again this type of good feeling, especially in a year where there's so many layoffs, so many
Yeah.
hardships, so
Yeah.
many games that are failing with the public. I think they really need an E3 to come back strong once again.
Yeah, I agree. And there's no reason to not move that to Las Vegas. And like truly speaking, like I do think that it could come to Las Vegas and I do think that it could be successful here. The Luxor already has kind of their
The
digital
esport,
sports. Yeah,
yeah.
the esports stuff. So to me it just feels like a natural evolution of what that could be and what the potential is there. But
Well,
you
Evos
know,
takes place here,
yeah.
the World Fighting Game
Hmm.
Championships, and so yeah, you're right. It would be a success if it's here or if it stayed in LA. But yeah,
Yeah.
E3 or CES is of
Yeah.
course, yeah, we've done our own conventioneering together, and
Yep.
yes, we've almost gotten kicked out of the Las Vegas Convention Center together. Yes, no, I'm just kidding,
Whoops.
everyone. Exactly, just
I
kidding,
mean,
everyone.
it
No,
was
no.
that one time.
That
It
one
was
time.
fine.
The one time you were shouting up everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
Yes, no, but, there you
Right.
go. And that presentation. But it is, of course, E3. Maybe one day it return. I think it should, but we'll see. I understand it's probably nostalgia on my part, but I just remember the industry being in a better place and
Yeah.
time when it comes to that time with E3. So we'll see. But what are your thoughts out there on Ubisoft, this not E3 period? And do you think there should be a return to E3? Please let us know. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. And before we hit the break, Melinda, the boys. Season 4 is back at Amazon. It is one of their top series. We talk about top series and top
Yeah.
things as far as Ubisoft is concerned. This is one of Amazon's big babies
Hmm.
coming back for season 4. They have announced already that season 5 will be its last.
Yeah.
Again, I'm hoping it's for creative reasons, because for the life of me, I can't understand why it would be not for numbers reasons, because it is one of their most popular series. Like, okay, I
Yeah.
understand with Stranger Things, because that series, even though it's only 5 or 6 seasons in, it's taken place over such a long period of time. The actors just don't want to do it anymore in
Yeah.
some cases. So yeah, I get that. But The Boys, I still seems has a lot, like it's a lot of life left, but heading into episode 1 here, I guess we're gonna have to find out what's gonna go on with maybe the rise or the fall of Homelander in the next 2 seasons.
Yeah. And am, I mean, it's a brutal show to watch. It still is delivering on all of that. Wow. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of escapades and wild things we get into this season. But it's, to me, the show is, and this is going to be a strange statement, but to me the show really underlines why humans don't get superpowers, because I feel like we are a lot more Homelander than we are Marvel Comics, if that makes sense.
Right now, I mean, we probably are. So I
Yeah.
agree with you on that.
Like if you like, Robbie and I, we talk about this all the time when we're driving in the car, because you know how driving in Las Vegas is sometimes, right?
Oh yeah. Right now
We're
it's
like,
pretty hot, but okay.
yeah. So it's like, if you had a superpower, what would it be? And my answer has been for a long time, I would like to have the superpower to make people poop their pants. That would be the only superpower that I need. You cut me off in traffic, you're about to have a bad day, my friend. Here you go.
Road
So, but
rage.
but I
Here,
mean,
I-beam. Psst.
yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, that's, we don't deserve superpowers because
Actually, I was on driving on the road. My youngest daughter is training how to drive, and
yeah,
she got mad at every single car that did not use their lane change. That's another one. That's another one. So if
yeah,
she had superpowers, she would have given the evil I beam at all
oh
those
yeah,
Cars. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. I
yeah,
agree with you on that. So I said,
yeah,
"This, honey, just get used to it. This is what's
yeah,
going to happen when you get your
absolutely.
license." But
Yeah, but yeah, there's just humans in general. I think if we were gonna be, let's talk about like realism when it comes to superheroes, I think we're far more the boys than we are anything Marvel. So whoops.
I do want to applaud Amazon, because when they're getting this stuff in or learning about what's going to take place during the course of these episodes,
Yeah.
with showrunner Eric Kripke, and Seth Rogen is one of the executive producers. He's helped get this thing started, and they go to Amazon, and Amazon looks at the script.
Yeah.
You guys want to do what?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What? I bet at first it got them very unnerved, but now it's just like, how far can they go? How
Yeah.
far can they push the limits? How far can they test everything out? So season 4 is, from what all instances, going to be very wild. Episode 1 did drop already. I can't wait till season 5, the final season, which has already been announced, which will be what crazy. So we'll
Yes.
see what happens. Definitely going to be interesting viewing, to say the least. But what are your thoughts out there on The Boys? Please let us know your thoughts. Season 4 is hit right now. It's available right now on, of course, Amazon. Please go ahead and check it out. And also, last but not least, Bridgerton, which is soaring up the Netflix charts right now. Season 3, part 2, because we talked about it, because everybody's now doing a part 1 and part 2. And
Yeah.
I think Kevin Costner said if Horizon does well, he'll get a part 3 out of it.
Oof.
It's great.
Yeah.
But your thoughts on Bridgerton, the saucy, sexy part 2 of season 3? I mean, is it everything that it's been made out to be?
Yeah, I think so. I don't want to talk too much. I don't want to get too specific because I don't want to spoil things, because this is going to be a big weekend for Bridgerton fans, right? There's going to be
Okay.
some binge watching that happens. Maybe
Okay.
you're going to call some girlfriends over on Saturday night. You're going to have some
Okay.
wine. You're going to have, so, you know, a little charcuterie board, and you're going to watch some Bridgerton, right? So I don't really want to ruin anything yet, but I just felt like a couple of things were a little bit too easy. And I think that that
Okay.
will make sense when you watch the last episode of this
Okay.
season, the very, very last one. It just felt like it was a little too accepted. I don't know how else to explain that without giving a big old spoiler away. But yeah, there's a lovely twist, which was great and very funny, because as the twist is happening, you quickly realize that not just anyone can be Lady Whistledown. Just put that out there. Maybe that's a spoiler. I don't know. Did I just ruin it for somebody? I hope not. I'm sorry if I did, but it's great. It has all of the things that you expect from Bridgerton. There's a couple of little twists along the way, and I mean, while I was, felt a little underwhelmed with how easily things were accepted, it still kind of made sense in the story. So it's not like I'm mad at it or I'm holding anything against the show, but I just felt like it should have been a bit more of a slog, I suppose. It'll make sense when you watch it, I promise.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Yeah.
But you know how Netflix tries to structure its shows now. It's just like, they're brief. Well, it's no longer that when it comes to streaming, that the idea and concept of 22 episode seasons, that's out the window with
Yeah.
them. It's
Yeah.
about higher priced, shorter seasons,
Yeah.
but giving you better production quality than what you may see on, and also better content and more
Mhm.
varied content in this
Yeah.
case than
Yeah.
what you get on broadcast television. So
Yeah.
I get it. But yeah, Bridgerton is right now the king and the queen of the charts right now, at the top of the charts for Netflix. And again, they know how to do it right. They are the ones that are really out in front with this,
Yeah.
part one, part two. So we'll see what happens. But what are your thoughts out there on the steamy, saucy, sexy Bridgerton season 3, part 2? Please let us know your thoughts if it's everything you want it to be. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, before we head on out, I wanted to go ahead and get everything going with it on a cheerful note as you head
Mhm.
out on your weekend, because Inside Out 2 premieres this weekend and actually is already in sneak previews, aka, I don't know why they call it sneak previews, but in previews, whatever.
Right.
Just say Thursday night. They just
Right.
Thursday PM showings here domestically got a 2024 high. Sorry, Doom Part 2. Love you. $13 million
Mhm.
and over $22 million worldwide so far at the box office, leading many to think that it will go beyond what it was expected to do this weekend, which was between 80 and 90 the domestically, and maybe as well much as 180 $200 million worldwide. So with that said in mind, Pixar has been under the gun in
Yeah.
recent years, with some very mixed results. Some of it not through their own choosing, some of it through their own design. I know Lightyear wasn't exactly the most loved movie. I didn't hate it. I thought it was okay. Turning Red, I thought, man, if that would have been out in theaters, I think that would have solved a lot of problems, because I
Yeah.
think that is one of the best Pixar movies that I have seen. But Inside Out 2 is getting strong reviews. It's dealing with now the young lady in question as a teenager and
Mhm.
getting added emotions upon top of some of the other emotions she has. There was a couple of notable voice changes as far as some of the emotions. Bill Hader and was it Kristen Wiig? So one of the other comedians didn't come back for it, but still some good voice talent there. Um, your thoughts on Inside Out 2 before we get into all that's going on with Pixar and the history of Pixar before we head on out? Inside Out 2 probably will end up this time Monday, when Josh and I started reporting on it, as the biggest movie of the year 2024 so far. And I don't think right now that's such a bad thing, seeing the state of the industry, the state of
Mhm.
Pixar. I think for all parties concerned, they really need Inside Out 2 to be a hit.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that there's so much love for the original Inside Out. I mean, I still well, I you know what? That doesn't make it special because how many times a week do I watch The Emperor's New Groove? I mean, let me be
Mhm.
honest about that. I watch that movie probably a bit more than I should. But Inside Out is another one of those movies that I can go back to time and time and time again. And, I still enjoy it as much as the very first time that I watched it. And I think that that is what Inside Out 2 absolutely has to
Bring the
live up to.
Kleenex.
Yep. And if it doesn't live up to that, I think that, you know, that's going to be an incredible letdown for Pixar fans, not just for fans of Inside Out, but just Pixar in general. Because it does feel a little bit like they've been off their game lately.
Yeah, like I said, part of it's their own doing, part of it's not.
Yeah,
Again, I've told you before, I have a friend that has worked at Pixar. I'm hoping he's still there. I will
right.
find out when I watch the credits for Inside Out 2, or I haven't because I haven't reached out. I should reach out. That reminds me, I should reach out to make sure he's doing okay, but I think he
Yeah,
is. I haven't heard anything otherwise. So, but they did make some layoffs. About 15% of the workforce
yeah.
at Pixar was laid off. We talked about the layoffs in the video game industry,
Mhm.
but this could be a chance for Pixar to come back strong, and uh, they are still, in my opinion, the leading animation studio that's out there. I know Disney has once again closed the gap with some good stuff of their own, and some other entities out there obviously do create good animation. I'm not going to dissuade anybody from that. On that, we saw we saw what was it? Blue Samurai, um, the one we like on
Oh,
Netflix.
Blue-Eyed Samurai?
Blue Eyed Samurai, yes,
Yeah,
and then also as well, we've seen Arcane, which is
yeah,
now, I guess, ending season 2 with that one. Okay,
yeah.
figure that one out after it wins all those awards, but okay. But there are good animation,
Castlevania as well.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
excellent animation studios. But Pixar is still the cream of the crop. And if you get a chance to check out their facility in San Francisco, I would highly recommend it. But yeah, it
mhm.
just at this point this could be a big win for Pixar, and also the movie industry and the box and the theater industry as well. But I want to hear your thoughts on how a return to glory for Pixar makes it good and makes it really important for the movie audience.
Well, I think that, we how do I put it? I think that we are living in a time right now where it's so easy to be jaded about everything. Like everything is so hard for everybody right now, that we need those places that feel familiar, and we need those things that feel special, and I think that we need those things that remind us that there's far more that we all have in common than things that make us different. And I think that that's the true power of what Pixar is able to deliver in their films. Sure, there have been some misses over time, but you have to admit that watching a Pixar film, um, you know, really helps you remember how special it is for us to be part of this community of human beings that we're all part of. And I think that that's the real magic of Pixar. I think they have really figured out how to do that. They got a little bit lost in the last couple of years, but I think that a lot of people have gotten a little lost in the last few years when it comes to all of that kind of stuff. So a return to the goodness and the wholesomeness of what Pixar offers, I think is going to be good for the movie going public. And maybe this is being a little bit too grandiose about it, but I think that it's going to be a lovely reminder for us, that we all feel the same things. And the addition of like the anxiety character, that's something that we're all dealing with right now because things are so tough. And I think that it's a lovely reminder and a lovely way for us to share those conversations, with our kids. It's a great way for adults to breach the conversation with other adults who perhaps aren't able to have those kinds of conversations. It's a relatable thing. And I think that it's a chance for them to yeah, gosh, again, it's probably being too grandiose about it, but it's an opportunity for Pixar to bring us back together, and for us to remember that we do share those common experiences with each other, and that we all have gone through a lot of the same stuff and experienced the same kinds of emotions and conflicts and things that bubble up inside of us. It's just part of the human experience, and Pixar has found the way to take that and put that on the big screen, and I think that that's their one real leg up that I think they have on all of the other animation studios.
Very well said. I couldn't have said it better myself on that. And absolutely, I'm wishing them all the best at
Yeah.
Pixar. I'm hoping this will be a huge success. Sorry, Doom Part 2. Love you. But I'm hoping it will be a huge success. It will most likely become the number one movie. The way it's trending right now, the number one movie of the year for Deadpool and Wolverine. So
Right.
yeah, that will Despicable Me 4, I think also, and you know what, we forget about Despicable Me 4, we forget about the
Yeah.
Universal's animation. They have absolutely done great things, because I think if any, we talked about Disney closing the gap. I think Universal's animation studios,
Yeah.
after what we've seen with Super Mario Brothers, and also the Despicable Me movies and Minion movies, they're money wise, they're actually doing better than Pixar. I just think aesthetically, I think Pixar is just still a little
Yeah.
tiny bit better.
Yeah, it's that, and there's something intangible in the difference between Pixar and other movies, and maybe I'm giving
Sony's animation too, with Across the Spider-Verse, that
yeah.
is really some good stuff as well. I
Yeah,
cannot
and that
forget
is
that.
such a specific style too. Like, it's
Yeah,
immediately identifiable, and I think
yeah,
that maybe that's what we're seeing with Pixar, where they just have that something that they add to their animation that makes it identifiable, even without knowing the story. Like, you can see a still and go, okay, that's Pixar.
yeah.
I feel like that's something that they've achieved.
I want to see a little bit more from Sony, but you've had two best looking movies, Academy Award winning movies, animation, with the two Spider-Verse
Yeah.
movies. So Sony's obviously in the right direction. Universal with its obviously great allotment of movies that they've come out with, Despicable Me 4, Super Mario Brothers, and then of course also what we're seeing with Minions. Yeah, that obviously their animation is in a good place, and I'm happy to see that that's the case. But before we head on out, one last thing. What is your favorite Pixar film?
Ooh, that's tough.
I knew I hit
Mm,
you with that one.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow, that is tough. I mean, Inside Out was so good. I'm just trying to remember now, like, oh, what else is specifically Pixar? Because I
I know
mean,
we
I
had
just
this
looked it up, but
conversation, Josh and I, a long time ago, and I
uh,
think I said The Incredibles, but I'm not. There's so many now that I'm not really.
yeah, I mean, the Incredibles is very good, but for me, I think it is Inside Out. I think it just has like that. I love that it's such a valuable teaching tool for kids to help identify how they're feeling about things, and how they can explain their emotions. Like, I'm feeling like sadness is in control today, mom. So it's just a way for you to have a conversation with kids, and I think it kind of gives the power to kids to be able to express that a little bit more. And it also helps adults understand, where their kids are coming from a little bit more too, I think. So I think that the Inside Out movie is always going to have a kind of a special place for me.
I'll tell you what, my friend, it's always a great time talking to you. But if you are out there seeing Inside Out 2, or have a favorite thought on a Pixar film, please let us know. Popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode. As always, you knocked it out of the park, as always you do. And you dragged me along for the ride, because I'm like weighing you down the whole entire way. But any last thoughts before we head on out, or any last plugs before we head on out?
Honestly, I was just sitting here thinking about, like, the success of all of this animation that we're talking, and all of the different studios. Why don't they take Star Trek Lower Decks and make that the next Star Trek movie?
I would love it. I
I
personally
thought we
enjoyed the show a lot. So
absolutely. I thought it was great, and it felt. I mean, it's animated, but it still feels like a Star Trek show,
I thought that
but
show was gonna go on for 10, 12 seasons, personally,
oh,
like, yeah.
easily, it could have. So, I have to write a letter, or at least an email.
There you go. Getting the
Hmm,
sign,
hmm,
standing outside Paramount Studios, right there
yeah.
on near Melrose Avenue. Yep, yep, yep. There you go. I
Big
I
piece of
I
Bristol board.
I've
Thanks.
seen that. I've worked right across the street from that famous gate, so I know, where that
Yeah,
is. So there you
yeah.
go. All right. So for Melinda Barkhouse Ross, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great